With every daybreak and every sunrise, a new day dawns on the United Arab Emirates. Every day that passes, UAE witnesses a fresh achievement realized by UAE citizens. Every minute and every second of the life of man in this country witnesses incessant work and continued production. Over 2 decades ago, an event which hardly reoccurs in the history of nations and peoples took place in the early hours of a shining day, whose sun rays heralded the good tidings of a long-awaited dream: federation. The date of that historic event was December the 2nd, 1971. The venue was the Jumeirah Palace in Dubai. On that day, the establishment of the United Arab Emirates was declared. An event that represents the meeting of the minds of the people who have been living in the land for ages, linked together by the bonds of blood, kinsmanship, history, and geography. A people has become united to set new horizons of construction and awakening to make good for that which it has missed and catch up with the march of the advanced nations. Thus, the construction march sets out in strength, as if it were in a race with passing time, through all difficulties and obstacles, and realizing what was unimaginable, a miracle recognized by all in an age that doesn't believe in such things. The 2nd of December is considered a shining spot in the history of the people. On this day every year, history pays homage to a people who made miracles and to a leader who has led his people towards glory. On that day, the leader of the UAE made the epic unity. The UAE is a federal sovereign state comprising Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman, Ras Al Khaimah, Al Quwain, and Fujairah. The Federation runs the affairs entrusted to it under the Constitution provisions. The UAE Constitution adopts the most modern and progressive constitutional orientations in defining human rights and freedoms. It provides for the necessity of respecting such rights and freedoms. The Supreme Federal Council is one of the federal authorities provided for in the Constitution. The Council is the highest political authority in the country. It comprises Their Highnesses the rulers of the 7 Emirates, members of the Federation as members. It has been presided over since the establishment of the Federation in 1971 by His Highness Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. The Council is entrusted with chalking out the country's policy, discussing and taking decisions on major issues relating to the realization of the Federation's objectives and common interests of the Emirates, the members of the Federation. The United Arab Emirates managed to adopt a unique approach to building a federal state. Under this approach, all actively participate in forging the country's policy, planning, preparing, and implementing thereof. Out of the belief in the advisory principle, Shura, which is provided for in the Islamic religion, the state gives utmost priority to the practice of democracy, thus notching a prestigious niche among the most deeply rooted people who experienced early parliamentary life. This has been realized through one of the authorities provided for in the Constitution, the Federal National Council, which disposes its duties by converting the democratic experience into a distinguished parliamentary school in light of given environment and society development stages. The wise leadership of the UAE has realized that it is necessary to ingrain and nurture in the minds of the people the sense of responsibility. It also realized that firm cohesion between leadership and people is the actual defense and security fence of the country. Rallying around the leadership is well reflected by the continued get-togethers between His Highness the President and all sections of society all year round. Such meetings are true reflections of the depth of the cohesion between the two sides and provide a good opportunity for continued guidance, immediate evaluation, and direct correction of works and practices. They are a live picture for the intimacy and strong bonds between the leader and the people. The ambitions and aspirations that have been realized in the United Arab Emirates and the challenging of the difficulties in achieving these aspirations are considered a lesson which is hardly repeated nowadays. It is a lesson in self-denial for the sake of the homeland. On the 2nd of December 1971, life was brought to the country all over, and a special attention was given to the development of man first, on the grounds that man will play an important role in building the country and developing its establishments and public facilities. The objective of the astounding achievements and the incredible miracles that have been realized was first and foremost the building of man, since man in this young state is the real asset. The building of man and realizing his welfare are the main concern of all, and it is the goal that all work to achieve. The first stage of such building was how to groom the creative and thoughtful man. In this context, the government concentrated on the development of education by increasing the number of schools and spreading education all over the country. Then the government paid attention to the development of education itself by upgrading and modernizing curricula and teaching techniques. It also introduced modern technology and made best use of it in the education process, in addition to the introduction of new specializations to the technical and vocational learning to meet the society's requirements by benefiting from the scientific progress already achieved by man. During the Federal March, education has witnessed radical changes in terms of quantity and quality at all academic stages. The outstanding turning point in the education process and in the development march represents an immense stride towards providing society with its requirements of various specializations and efficient, skilled and highly qualified manpower. The United Arab Emirates University was one of the main establishments that laboriously worked for the implementation of the government's policy on higher education, building man, preparing generations of qualified cadres to get involved in national work. In 1988, the Higher Technical Colleges, an affiliate of the UAE University, was established to contribute to the development of society. Ever since, the Higher Technical Colleges and the UAE University work shoulder to shoulder to qualify the youths academically and practically, to enable them to join the manpower at various establishments in the country, armed with skills and capabilities which are required by the age of specialization, information and technology. Developing society dictates that man must be brought up in a proper and sound way. If the half of the society, women, is properly prepared, guarantees for success and progress are ensured. The government took this into consideration the moment the federation was established. It gave women, the mainstay of family, which in its turn is the nucleus of society, remarkable attention and immense support. On her part, woman's response to the care being provided to her by the government has been extremely positive, whereby she deployed strenuous and commendable efforts to realize the hopes pinned on her. Thus, women occupied outstanding positions in terms of work and administration. Women in the United Arab Emirates have firmly established themselves in the positions they uphold and succeeded in all the leading positions they occupy. Nowadays, the United Arab Emirates Women's Federation, whose establishment is attributed to efforts extended by women themselves, occupies an outstanding and distinguished place. Its activities spread to involve all fields of education and women's life. The Center of Traditional and Environmental Handcrafts reflects the UAE women's capabilities in contributing to the building and developing of a society. As the issue of building man has topped the list of the state's development priorities since its establishment, social care and development got the lion's share. Out of the government's keenness to provide service to all sectors of society, centres and units of social development were set up all over the country. And women's development centres were also established to educate women and enlighten them socially, culturally and hygienically. Other women's and welfare societies were set up to enhance social life as well. The government also constructed more than 100 kindergartens with up-to-date equipment to develop children's potential and make sure that children grow up in a normal and balanced way. The efforts that must not be overlooked or underestimated in this field are the establishment of the Rehabilitation Centre for the Handicapped, This centre extends immense efforts to help the handicapped merge into society by rendering to them health care and rehabilitating them technically and vocationally, in conformity with the state's belief that such a slice of society must receive much more care than others. Out of the conviction that the march of development, construction and social stability are positively affected by certain services, the health services topped the list of priorities of the national work. The plan for the development of health service was so comprehensive it covered all the United Arab Emirates citizens and expatriates as well. The application of the primary health care was the springboard for providing remedial and preventative treatment by over 120 centres for health care. The remarkable increase in the number of hospitals, beds and clinics has prompted authorities to lay down new regulations and meticulous specifications for the old and new medical establishments, so as to keep abreast of the latest scientific achievements and technology. Latest statistical data shows the number of hospitals, beds therein, and central school health clinics has increased by 3, 6, and 6-fold respectively. To cope with latest developments in medical spheres, these hospitals are equipped with up-to-date equipment. The development march not only covered man building, but also spread to involve all fields to enhance the welfare of man and society and maintain the country's glory. In this context, the United Arab Emirates has made pioneer experiments in several fields, including the development of real estate, which is considered a distinguished experiment in terms of the short span of time during which apartment blocks and housing units were built, and of its impact on the course of the development progress. The United Arab Emirates has allocated considerable sums for investment in the construction of low-cost housing all over the country to meet the citizens' needs of decent accommodation. Some areas which were haphazardly constructed at the beginning of the construction march were replanned to become modern residential quarters as per the highest level of criteria for urbanization. The real development covered not only the number of the housing units, but also its quality. So the new houses differ from the old ones in terms of design, area, facilities, and building materials used. In this context, one recalls the role of the modern national factories, which contributed to the increase and development of the construction operations inside the country. These factories provided the raw and processed building materials, thermal insulation materials, and requirements of finishing, thus making it unjustifiable to import such materials from abroad. Generally speaking, the government has given the industrialization issue increasing priority since the establishment of the Federation, on the grounds that it is effective in the diversification of the sources of national income. Over the past 2 decades, an important and qualitative development has been witnessed by the production sector, whereby the annual growth rate for the industrial production remarkably increased. The converting industries contributed immensely to this growth. The past few years witnessed noticeable expansion of the various fields of industry, particularly the crude oil refining industry and those of structural materials, aluminium and chemical products, textiles, clothes and furniture. The UAE also witnessed important development of engineering, shipbuilding and electrical equipment industries. The sector, whose products are available in abundance in the local market, is the foodstuff industry. One cites hereby in particular the products that rely on local agricultural crops and produce. All through the federal march, the agricultural sector took big strides, thanks to the support of the concerned parties in the state, who harnessed all existing potential to make this sector a success. The United Arab Emirates policy on agriculture is aimed at realizing self-sufficiency, meeting the consumer's needs of agricultural and animal produce, achieving food security, and setting up an important economic mainstay that, along with other economic sectors, will help support national income, whose main source is oil. To put this policy in motion, the government fought the adverse environment and desert by expanding greenery, implementing afforestation projects, and building and developing farms that now produce vegetables, fruits, citrus, and dates. Through this policy, the government has managed to find other supportive means to the main national income source, which is oil. The United Arab Emirates is considered one of the major oil-producing and exporting countries. It managed to make remarkable progress in oil industries, particularly in the fields of oil byproducts and liquefied gas. The programs aimed at increasing the production capacity of oil as an indication of doubling and intensifying efforts to cope with the rapid growth of expansion of the world oil market. Such growth prompted the government to expand production facilities, not only at production reservoirs and wells, but also at new other reservoirs and layers. The government also embarked on new plans for constructing and installing new facilities for collecting and processing oil, in addition to new projects for developing oil fields and increasing drilling activities and exploration operations, plus laying down new pipelines. The discovery of huge quantities of natural gas has led to an increase in the national income from oil. Thus, oil further contributed to economic and social development at all levels in all the Emirates of the Federation. To make best use of the natural gas resources, some mammoth projects were carried out for the liquefaction of gas, which is either exported or piped to petrochemical industries as a source of energy. Although oil and gas are good sources of energy, the government doesn't rely solely on them. It resorted to other sources, such as electricity for domestic and industrial consumption. The government has actually managed over the past 2 decades to meet the population's needs of electrical power and potable water, not only at the urban level, but also at the rural one, including far-flung villages and remote areas. This was achieved by the stations and networks the government has built to contribute, along with the artesian wells and maintenance centres thereof, to the increase of the government's investments in the water and electricity sector. As the economic sectors have realized high growth rates and carried out numerous versatile, productive projects in the country over the past 2 decades, and as the last 10 years were distinguished by the remarkable growth of the private sector, the inception of local trade centres, which offset international ones, and organisation of international trade fairs, helped the UAE notch a prestigious place in terms of trade transactions at the regional and international levels, particularly after the government had made available various facilities which contributed to the revival and development of foreign trade. The transportation and communications sector has also played an important and effective role in enabling the country to usher into the age of technology and direct contact with the whole world. It is one of the vital sectors in the country that helped make civilizational interaction easier and plans for economic and social development a success. At the level of civil aviation, the government has got in its possession 5 modern airports, provided with state-of-the-art equipment, thus making them on equal footing with international ports. The 5 airports, which the strenuous and sincere efforts brought into existence, now render all facilities necessary for airlines, passengers, and air transport. As part of government's interest in air transport and civil aviation in general, it did not remain indifferent to the Met services, which are closely linked to aviation. The Met service is also considered a mainstay of development in various fields, foremost of which are civil aviation and maritime transport. Particularly, the country has the largest and most modern seaports in the area. These seaports are distinguished by the development techniques of loading and unloading, the presence of dry docks for repair and maintenance of ships, and breakwaters, which also serve as a protection for the coastal cities from any potential dangers. As for the inland cities, they were linked up by an elaborate network of motorways and bridges, whereby their length was multiplied. Main cities were also linked up with villages by paved roads, in addition to the completion of streets in some other towns in the country. In the context of linking cities, towns and villages in the UAE with the world, and in providing service to all sectors of economy and society, the telecommunications services have achieved over the past few years substantial progress at the level of expansion and upgrading. The Emirates Telecommunications Corporation, Etisalat, managed to keep abreast of the latest technology of communications in terms of equipment and techniques. This has led to the upgrading of the corporation's services and making them available to all customers. In line with the government's keenness to safeguard its various gains and achievements, and out of realization of the citizens' security and stability, which is the objective of the wise leadership, and in reflection of the firm belief in the importance of the role being played by police in ensuring security and stability, on the grounds that they are the main pillars for the protection of the aspired for awakening, the government proceeded with the establishment of police schools, colleges, and institutes for the training of officers. It also held innumerable specialized training courses aimed at preparing and grooming the national cadres necessary for handling works in various fields of security. The joining of the police force by women shouldering their responsibilities towards their homeland with efficiency is an additional evidence of the extent of the cultural development and sublimity the thinking woman has reached, thus playing an outstanding role in the service of security and society. The police force in the UAE is in fact a modern one that has got all human and material resources to carry out its duties and shoulder its responsibility. In continuation of work for the protection of the country and its achievements, and out of His Highness the President's saying, "We are a state that works for peace, respect neighborhood rights, and care for the friend, but our need for a strong army remains standing and persistent," we are building the army not to invade or fight any country, but to defend ourselves. The government has been keen to develop the armed forces by commissioning new weapons into service, training and qualifying national cadres to cope with the development and extension being witnessed by all military facilities. The first nucleus of the armed forces was the military culture schools, followed by the establishment of the Zayed II Military College, where male citizens who dedicated their life for the service of their homeland are trained and groomed. The Command and Staff College, which was opened in 1991, is a military institute of the highest academic standard. Out of the United Arab Emirates women's desire to participate in the defense of the country's borders and territories, the Khaled bint al-Azwar Military School was set up to educate, qualify, and train girls to join the armed forces. In further development of the military and in culmination of the achievements of the Federation, a historic decision was taken to unify the UAE Armed Forces on the 6th of May 1976. Ever since, the land forces witnessed noticeable development in terms of weapon, men, teaching, and administration. More interest in air forces was shown, until it became now one of the best and most developed in the area. The establishment of the Air College in 1982 to qualify national cadres and graduate pilots of all specializations who, along with the air defense personnel, provide protection for the vital targets and public facilities in the country. To keep abreast of world events and developments, the UAE Navy was provided with up-to-date vessels, fitted with the latest technology of computer-assisted controls, in addition to the development of the technical elements and cadres, and initiation of the Navy's task force, which is highly qualified and efficient, and that carries out heroic deeds hardly done by their foreign counterparts. The United Arab Emirates has been preoccupied with the issues facing man inside and outside its own boundaries. The prudent government of the UAE has worked laboriously, not only for the welfare, prosperity, and stability of its own people, but also for other peoples the world over. The UAE has committed itself to the realization of these self-imposed objectives. It views that supporting issues of peace and justice, backing non-alignment policy, world entente and détente, upholding all serious attempts to end racial segregation, and buttressing efforts to reduce world military expenditures and disarmament as very conducive to serving humanity's noble issues. The UAE has been, since its establishment, loyal to its principled stands, emanating from its affiliation to the Arab nation, and its desire to cooperate with all countries that believe in peace and justice. The UAE, after consolidating the Federation, has served as an incentive for others to crystallize the conception of bringing the AGCC into existence. The AGCC is considered as a reflection and an inevitable result of the firm bonds, common heritage, objectives and destiny that link its member countries together. Broadly speaking, the historic roles played by the UAE to close Arab ranks and forge a concerted Arab stand are innumerable. The persistence of the UAE in supporting the Arab March and realizing Arab solidarity to face world challenges top the priorities that preoccupy His Highness the President. These two issues have been the pivot of his continued consultations with Arab leaders. The UAE's recent policy has given special attention to the establishment of peace in the Middle East and reconstruction of Lebanon and maintenance of its Arabism, safety and the integrity of its territories. The UAE has also followed up closely the ordeal the Somali people are passing through. In this context, the UAE has actively participated through its contingent serving the United Nations force in Somalia, in extending humanitarian and medical aid to alleviate the suffering of millions of the Somali people. Out of its firm belief in supporting international, Islamic and humanitarian issues, the UAE has strongly condemned the aggression on Bosnia-Herzegovina, which claimed the lives of thousands of innocent people. The UAE has reiterated that it stands by Bosnia-Herzegovina and supports the latter's struggle, stressing its keenness on establishing peace and consolidating security in this part of the world. The United Arab Emirates, like any other country, conveys its official opinions and stands through different means and channels, the most important of which is mass media that truly reflects the country's domestic and foreign policies. Mass media is the effective means which has been used by the state to link its citizens to their society's issues and encourage them to contribute to the federal march by inculcating in their minds positive values, interest in customs and traditions, noble values and Arab folklores and heritage. In this context, mass media in the UAE performs its duties using the latest techniques and telecommunications technology. The 3 television stations in the country keep people, through satellites, in touch with world events and economic, political and scientific developments as they occur. At the foreign level, the state's information policy works for presenting a true picture of the development and progress already achieved by the UAE and its principled and open stance on various Arab, Islamic and world issues. This is implemented in 2 ways, either by holding exhibitions on UAE territories or through participation in other fairs being held by other countries, in addition to the use of space channels through the Arab satellite by Abu Dhabi and Dubai television stations. Also in this context, one could not overlook cultural activities, because there is a close correlation between them and mass media. Cultural activities occupy an outstanding place in the UAE, particularly book fairs, which are held every year in the country. The UAE also hosts local art festivals and takes part in similar international ones, such as the Drama Festival and plastic arts exhibitions. The United Arab Emirates has taken remarkable care of the local folklore troupes and societies, besides poets' get-togethers, which usually take part in national celebrations and folklore festivals. Such care shows the government's keenness to maintain and nurture national heritage and all its various aspects. One of the sectors that witnesses that the UAE has realized all-out development and progress, which are being experienced by all walks of life, and is interreacting with the outside world, is the sector of youth and sports. The UAE has given these sectors, which include a wonderful blend of the firmly established heritage and the zenith of development, a special attention. The variety of the activities of this sector ranges from Arab thoroughbred camel and horse races and falconry, which are practiced to assert commitment to inherited traditions, customs and noble values and the maintenance of Arab heritage, to sailing and speedboat races held both inside and outside the UAE. Reviewing the various sports activities practiced by UAE youths, one realizes the great interest the government has shown in this sector and the remarkable attention it gave to the youths to help them occupy the prestige they truly deserve. Such care and attention also helped the UAE's youths realize their ambitions at the local, Gulf, Arab, Asian and international levels. With unlimited support by the government, the UAE youths managed to qualify for the finals of the last World Cup Soccer Championship and won the trophies and prizes of other regional and world tournaments in swimming, bowling, table tennis, athletics, chess, judo, karate and snooker. Having reviewed the United Arab Emirates' accomplishments and its development march since being established on December the 2nd, 1971, up to the 22nd anniversary of this historic event, December the 2nd, 1993, one comes up with the firm conviction that the United Arab Emirates is an ideal live example of what the will of the people should have to be. The hopes pinned on the UAE establishment were great, but the determination of its leadership and people were greater, and both have the right to pride themselves on what has been realized. Today, the United Arab Emirates stands towering among world countries, thanks to the miraculous progress, advancement, and development it has achieved within a relatively short time span. The ambitions of the United Arab Emirates have no limits, relying on the strong resolution of its people and the prudence of its leadership, which has got full confidence in the capabilities and potentials of the United Arab Emirates citizens. To all these great achievements, history has been a witness. And this is the United Arab Emirates today.